Hello and welcome to Smitty's. I am a wood cutting fanatic who loves to run a chainsaw. I run alcohol chainsaws, ported chainsaws, I race chainsaws, and I even run the occasional vintage. Now remember, I cannot do this without you. You're everything to the channel, so please remember, subscribe, give that thumbs up, leave that comment. Today, we are going to have a lot of fun.
So how you doing? Hey, today we are going to run the 385 again, but this time, this might actually be the last test run before I tear it down. We'll see. So basically, we're going to see if a stack filter improves the performance of this saw. So we knew the last time that we were doing between 12 and 12.3 in the cut. So today I got the tech. We're going to see if the stack made a difference. Might have to do some tuning, you never know. But I'm noticing a few other things with this saw, so we might be doing another test run. We'll see. You see, one of the things I need to figure out here is if I tune for where the peak power is in the cut, like you can feel where the peak power is. You can just feel where it wants to run at. If I tune to that point, it starts behaving like it's kind of lean a little. Kind of makes you think it's lean. So we might need to throw a colder plug in it or something. I have some here, so I just haven't got that far yet. So we might make one more test run on this saw to see if that happens. So let's see what happens though with this air filter setup. See if that changes anything. And then we'll kind of make our decisions from there and move forward from there. Now, another thing to note is that I have not done any timing advance adjustments to this saw at all. So, you know, we still got that aspect to do, but I might wait until after I get the bottom end rebuilt before I do that. Now, you guys probably can't hear it because the muffler's too loud. But I bet if this had a stock muffler on it, you'd be able to hear that bearing. It's kind of squealing. Has like this, I don't know, this hum to it, I guess you can say. The muffler is probably just too loud for you guys to hear it on camera, but it is definitely doing it. Now, another thing to tell you about is this chain. We kind of need to do a chain video here talking about this. You see, chains are kind of funny. Especially once you get to a certain RPM, which, you know, I'm telling you, it's a certain RPM, but it's actually a certain horsepower that I find that even your normal chains start actually behaving like you're actually like, it's like you're cutting slower once you get to a certain point. And I think it has to do with how the tooth bounces in and out of the wood, and at higher RPMs, the bounce in and out, you know what I mean? Like as it's cutting through the wood, it's not like one steady scrape the whole way through. It's in, it's out, it's in, it's out, it's in, it's out. And I think as the RPM gets higher, the distance that is going outside of making the chips gets to a point where it starts actually cutting a little bit slower. And you have to do some tweaks to correct that and to make it perform like it should. So I think we might get into a video like that here in the future. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll try, because this wood here that we're testing is a little softer. I showed you a picture already. I made a post. I'll throw a picture up here again on this video so you can see what this chain looks like and how aggressive it is. And I'll try to show you what it does without me pushing it through the cut. Just letting it self-feed. You'll get an idea of where, you know, it's actually capable of performing a higher RPM than what I'm telling you, simply because of how hungry I have the chain and how much it's pulling the saw down. That's why I keep talking about how I need to move peak power higher into the RPM. That's what I'm talking about, is I need that big wide torque, you know, right in that 12,000 RPM or so, 12,000 RPM, all that torque. I want to try to push it up a little bit higher in the RPM spectrum. That way it'll be able to hold up higher, easier. That's what I keep talking about, just in case you don't understand. So that's kind of what we're looking at here today too. There's a lot going on here in this video. There's a lot. I could probably make 3 or 4 videos out of what I'm doing today. but I'm doing a test that I need to do, and I need to get through this stuff, and I can't sit here and make a whole bunch of videos about all the different things. So I'm going to trying to explain to you real fast what I'm doing. That way, if you don't understand it or whatever, what's going on, we'll be making more videos in the future. So, you know what I mean? But what do you say? We get this 385 fired up. We're going to put it in this softwood. I'm going to make a cookie or two on this piece of oak. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to show you the tip of the bar on the softwood cutting through. I'm just going to let it self-feed so you can see what it's doing on a self-feed. Then I'll move it to this piece of oak and do the same thing. Both of them are pretty close to the same diameter. The oak's just maybe 2 inches bigger or so. So, we'll you'll get so it'll give you a kind of an idea how this chain's performing in the softwood versus something a little harder. This oak it's oak, but it's not as hard as a lot of oaks. I'm not sure what for species it'd be. It might be a white, but there's something about it. Maybe it's just a little bit, just a shade on the side is starting to rot out, because I noticed the core of it, down through the center is a little different. So it's not as hard as a lot of oaks can get. It really pulls hard on the saw. Like if I had some sort of a scale to show you how hard I'm holding on to it, like how hard it's pulling, I should try to figure something out like for that, to kind of give you an idea of just how much I got to hang on to the saw because of how hard it's pulling. So, you know what I mean? That's even another video for another day. You can imagine here, just think for a second, how many videos could I create out of just what I got going on here today? So do your best to keep up with it. I need to move through this so I can keep moving on with the project. Alrighty. Now, one of the things I do want to say, though, is, you know how it's common for people to say hardwoods are harder to cut than softwoods? I'll just say it's not entirely accurate. It can be your chain, it can be a number of factors. But I think a more accurate description is that hardwood takes longer to cut than softwood. I don't know. Do you agree with me on that one? I think it's a little more accurate. So let's get her started up and get her into this piece of poplar, and then we'll go to the oak and this other one, and we'll see some chain shatter, and we'll be doing all sorts of things here. All right. so there we go. So a few things to point out here. The piece of oak we tested on, it wasn't quite hard enough to show a whole lot of chatter, like get the tip of the bar bouncing. Like it wasn't hard enough to get the tip of the bar bouncing. But in the cut, I don't know if you could tell, it had a monster of a vibration through the cut. It was cutting really slow because of that vibration. You know, the teeth just weren't making contact the whole time, you know what I mean? Like they're supposed to. In the softer stuff, it was fine. But in this, no. Now, there's actually harder woods than this. Like as far as oak is concerned, I would consider this one of the softer ones. I have stuff here that's way harder, and I'd never even think about putting that chain on it. It's just too aggressive. But another thing to point out here is I wasn't dogging it in. I wasn't pushing it as hard. I was relying more on the self-feed function of the chain, which allowed the RPM to stay much higher. In fact, with the stack filter, I'm now able to achieve 12.8 in the cuts on this piece of wood with torque to spare. But you seen how I got to a point, like I leaned it out to a point there, and it started behaving like it was running lean. See, that's where the peak, like the power, the most power I'm getting out of that saw, that's where it's happening at that tune. So we're going to explore that too. I think we will have to make another test run of this saw just to see. I got some colder plugs here. I'm going to throw one in and see what happens. You know what I mean? You never know. You never know what'll happen. It doesn't hurt to try. Now, I haven't done my timing advance or anything like that yet, so we can still play with that. And another thing to point out is I keep mentioning about boosting the compression on this saw. We tested it at 190 PSI. So I can start the saw without the compression release at the moment. See, I came from running home lights and stuff, and a lot of them were running around 190, 200 pound of compression. Especially the bigger 80cc ones, like the 925s and such. It's not uncommon for them to hit 190 PSI, and they don't have compression releases. So, you know, I can start the saw without a compression release, and I think I can boost it more. Now, the compression is another reason why we might be getting some of this pre-ignition that I think I'm getting. More compression can create more heat. And I think that's part of the reason we might be seeing some of these issues. So we're gonna explore this a little bit more. I still want to boost the compression more. I think I can get more out of it. But today we officially got to 12.8 in the cut, relying more on the self-feed aspect of the saw. I didn't really have to push a whole lot. Well, I shouldn't say that I didn't push at all. I mean, you always apply some pressure. I just naturally, you know, I push to the point that, you know, to where it feels like it's the best. You know what I mean? I'm not pulling up on it at all. I am, you know, there's pressure going on. And the tug of war match between me and the saw is the funny part. If you could see that, if you could actually see how hard the saw's pulling, that's kind of what's funny, I think. In fact, if I put like an out-of-the-box RS on that saw, it would be pulling at 13,000 RPM. No, any day of the week. I guarantee you, it'd be hitting 13 grand with like an out-of-the-box RS. So, you know, she's performing pretty good. She is. It's starting to impress me more and more. Now, it might also be, you know, seating the rings a little better every time you're running it too. So, you know, that might be another aspect why it seems to be running better and better. But I'll be honest, we're not even through 2 tanks of gas. I think today would have finished off about the first tank of gas. So I don't think we're far enough to seat rings yet. I think most of what we saw today in the performance increase was coming from that filter. Because that's the only mod I did to it. I think that's it. That's it for today. There's a lot going on here, and you know, we'll be showing more on it. So hey, hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.